No.
Action.
Okay.
So what's the impact of the illicit trade of tobacco products in Canada?
Well, illicit trade in Canada hasn't gone away for the last 10 years. If anything, it's been here for 25 years. Lately in Ontario, we've seen it sit around 30%, which is shocking because we expect our governments to work with us to correct the illicit trade and not pretend that illegal cigarettes are infiltrating our communities. So huge impact when it comes to small business, huge impact when it comes to every community here in Ontario because it's infiltrating. It's infiltrating our seniors' homes, our high schools, it's infiltrating our workshops, our malls, our parking lots. And for some reason, we continue to close our eyes to it and pretend that it doesn't exist, even though the government's losing about $500 million a year here in Ontario in tobacco taxes, which could build hospitals for us as well.
Okay. So
We're ready?
thank you. We're ready.
Okay.
Okay. So second question is, what is your reaction when knowing that Canadian cigarettes are illegally entering Guatemala?
It's actually quite shocking to find out that our own cigarette production that the government's ignoring here in Canada is actually infiltrating other countries like Guatemala around the world. I know we do have issues where we're infiltrating all the provinces. Cigarettes are being made in Ontario under the watchful eye of governments and being shipped all over our country. I didn't realize they were hitting the open oceans and starting to infiltrate other countries around the world. And I think, you know, it's irresponsible of governments to allow this to continue to happen and now to allow other countries to be infiltrated with our own problems here back home.
And the third question is, what would you recommend as best practice or measures to be taken by provincial and federal government to avoid these cigarettes going into other markets such as Guatemala?
Well, first and foremost, let's get together and let's figure out how big is it, this issue. Let's quit working in silos and pretending that every government has a different way of looking at it and letting health groups influence how we make and handle tobacco. The time has come that if what we're hearing and the market is growing, that we have to come together. We have to sit at the table with industry participants, with retailers, with other countries and say, how do we correct it collectively? We can't all stand here and believe we're going to correct contraband one person at a time. It hasn't worked in 10 years, and it won't work in the next 10 years. If we don't come together now, we're going to have a completely lawless tobacco society throughout the world, and that is not what I think health groups expect or we expect as small business operators throughout this country.
Hago una yo y para de una vez, sí, para no atrasarlo a él y todo eso.
Okay.
La mía, creo que es que nos enfoque un poco sobre el tema de cómo funciona el traslado de las reservas a los diferentes puntos en Canadá. ¿Cómo es que funciona ese negocio?
Can you explain to us? Can you explain to us the modus operandi in which cigarettes leave the reserves and illegally enter the rest of the province in Canada?
Sorry, I didn't get the first part.
Okay, if you can explain to us the modus operandi, how they get the cigarettes out of the reserves and they enter illegally into the province.
Oh, sure. I mean, first off, Aboriginal production, as we call it, you may call it native, but we call it Aboriginal here in Ontario, is allowed to happen on federal reserves. So the reserves are on federal land, not provincial land. And what happens is the federal government licenses many of these and not all of them. So you have about 50 that may be licensed and 150 that are unlicensed. These products are then sold to runners or people that put them in, hide them in vans, hide them in garbage trucks, hide them anywhere, and they take them off of the reserve. And there's hundreds of roads leading out of reserves, not one road. There's not a gate to leave. And what happens is then they try and influence runners in every province because it's a highly profitable business. Whenever there's no tobacco taxes, and there's a huge avoidance of tax here, many people get involved. I mean, the RCMP have stated that there's upwards to 150 known organized crime gangs in this country distributing tobacco today throughout the country. And it's easily done because you can't block every road. And we just hope that somehow we find a way to end the production issues because I don't think we'll ever stop 100 roads out of every reserve. Keep in mind, just in Ontario alone, there are 163 reserves with about 20 roads each leaving each reserve. So there isn't enough enforcement to actually stop every vehicle. I wish we could, but there has to be a way to control the volumes leaving the reserve, not the people going on to buy 1 or 2 cartons.
Y para finalizar, ¿qué tanto le sorprende el traslado de todo ese comercio ilícito a Centroamérica, Costa Rica, Guatemala?
How much does this movement of huge quantities of products moving into Costa Rica?
Sorry.
Again.
How much?
Yeah, sorry. De nuevo era como
Más o menos que si le sorprende de gran manera el traslado que se está haciendo de ese.
if it's surprise to you, if it's a surprise to you that these huge quantities of products are going to Costa Rica.
I'm shocked. I'm actually shocked that here in Ontario, and we have fought very hard to fix contraband. We've spent time trying to educate people that it's wrong, to understand or realize today that behind our back, the production facilities are actually shipping it offshore to other countries that don't even realize it's landing in their shores. And I think it's time, and it goes back to what I said, it's time to get together with other countries, other jurisdictions. We're working in silos. And as long as everybody continues to work in silos, we're never going to correct contraband, whether it be in Ontario, Canada, or worldwide. And I hope we all can come together.
Remember that as he is from Costa Rica and the other guy was from Guatemala,
Right.
he probably has
Right.
the-
Yeah,
the
that's
same
fine, as
question.
long as I understand what you want.
Can you answer back the?
Is this the Costa Rica question?
Yes.
Yeah, if
How
you are shocked, if you
How
are surprised.
surprised are you about
Oh, sure. Let me know when you're ready.
the cigarettes flooding?
Ready.
Well, we're shocked. I would be absolutely shocked to find out that products being shipped behind our backs to Costa Rica. You know, we know we have a problem here in Canada. We know in Ontario we have a lot of production facilities that's under the watchful eye of the government and should be controlled. But little did we know that it was infiltrating not only our country and our provinces, but now other countries around the world. And it goes back to what I said earlier. We've got to stop working in silos. We've got to come together, all of us, and figure out how to stop this illegal movement of untaxed cigarettes around the world and protect our children, protect our businesses, and protect our society.
Okay. May I have your first and last name and your title?
Sure. My name is Dave Bryans, Bryans, and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Ontario Convenience Stores Association.
Excellent, Dave.
Great.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Not a problem. Hope it's enough?
Thank you for your patience.
Oh, no problem. I'm used to it.
I wasn't ready.
You gotta do it right.
I wasn't ready.
Otherwise, you gotta do it over and over as we just did. So everyone's happy now?
Yes.
Good?
Thank you so much, Dave. For
Enjoy the rest of your trip.
Thank you. It was very nice meeting you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
All
you.
safe. I hope you
Vamos a
come out all right.
despedir.
Thank you.